So, at the risk of sharing too much information, a few weeks ago, I literally peed my skirt. It was not funny. Listen on to discover what I did to keep myself continent and prevent it happening again. Hi, so welcome to Joyful Eating, episode 221. And today we're talking about I peed my skirt, literally, and this is what I did to stop it happening again. But before we get to my embarrassing story, the best bite I had recently, I've rediscovered, I actually made this ages ago, a porcini mushroom salt. So it was like porcini mushroom powder from the deli that I just mixed with some sea salt flakes. Just got it in a little container, a little jar on my kitchen, on my dining table, and it had been in the back of my pantry, and I'd completely forgotten about it. And I've resurrected it. And if you love mushrooms, like that mushroom flavor, it's the best. So I had it on the weekend with grated zucchini, so just zucchini from the garden, grated in the food processor. And then I poached some eggs and topped it with mayonnaise, which I am such a mayonnaise addict. Anything with mayonnaise is good, but anything with mayonnaise plus porcini mushrooms is seriously good. And so that with the eggs, I had some basil as well with it that gave it so that you had that earthy mushroominess and the creaminess from the eggs and the mayo. But then there was the zucchini was really fresh and the basil gave it some top notes. And it was just such a good combination. There's more porcini mushroom salt in my future. Actually, I'll have to try it on steak. So, plan for today is I'll share my embarrassing story, but it was not funny. And then I'll share with you why this embarrassing thing happened, or my theory as to why it happened, and then what I changed to prevent it happening again. And also, we'll talk about like a tiny habit that you can implement from today. So, story to behind this is a few weeks ago, it was a Saturday, I was at home and was on my way to the loo and I didn't make it. And I was wearing a skirt and my cowboy boots, and I felt it wasn't just like in the past, I've had a few little accidents where it's get a little bit of pee on your undies, whereas this was like actual trickling down my leg. And I can't believe that just happened. And in my cowboy boots too, which I was devastated about. So of course I had to clean everything up. And fortunately it happened at home, right? So it wasn't the end of the world. But the interesting thing is around New Year's, when we were in Thredbo, we ran into some friends of my older son, Fergal, a kid that he goes to school with. And so they went on this trampolining thing. So I was having a chat to his mom while the boys were doing the trampolining thing. And I didn't know her very well. And so it was great to have a bit of a chat, get to know her. And she actually works at the local hospital in the I can't remember what department she called it, but anyway, so she specializes in helping people with continence, right, and pelvic floor stuff. And so I was like, oh my goodness, really? And I was fascinated. So I had a great chat to her. And I remember her saying that, because I told her so the app that I use an app called Squeezy, which I'll share more about that in a second. So one of the things that Ella said was that the mistake people make is that you can do the exercises wrong, right? And so it can actually weaken the pelvic floor muscles rather than strengthen. I was like, right. So I'd kind of, that was in the back of my mind. And then when this thing happened, I was like, oh my goodness, this is awful, and just so much embarrassment. But anyway, and then I was like, okay, just think about this logically. Why did this happen now? It's not like I've stopped doing my pelvic floor exercises. I'm pretty sure from talking to Ella that the way that I'm doing them is correct. I'm using an app. What's going on here? And then I remembered, and then I no, actually what happened was then I was thinking, okay, well, obviously I need to do more pelvic floor stuff. And I was like, oh, I don't want to do another round set of them every day. One's enough. And it already takes a couple of minutes. I was thinking, what can I do? And I was like, okay, well, how can I let this be easy? And I was like, well, what else am I doing that I can add in some pelvic floor stuff to? And then I realized, so Virgil and we've got a habit of doing planks after dinner and for 2 minutes 25 seconds because it's 2025, of course, his idea, not mine. And you wouldn't believe how long 2 minutes 25 can be. So we've been doing planks, and so I was like, okay, well, I can add in when I'm doing my plank, like I haven't really been thinking about pelvic floor or my abs actually, maybe, and it probably would have been help the planks be more effective. I'll just add in engaging my core, which I've learned from Pilates, and then also squeezing up. as much as I can while I'm doing the plank. And of course, since doing that, that has solved the problem, right? But it actually made me realize that the first time I did it, when I had been planking before, because I hadn't focused on my pelvic floor, I was actually pushing rather than squeezing it up. You're meant to, so Ella said you're meant to imagine lifting your pelvic floor up. When I was doing the planks, I'd actually been pushing out because I hadn't been paying attention. So that had actually weakened the planks had actually weakened my pelvic floor because I wasn't doing it right. So by me just luckily realizing thinking that, oh, yeah, okay, that's an opportunity for me to do more pelvic floor, I actually reversed that problem. So just sharing all these embarrassing stories because I just want to make sure that that doesn't happen to you, right? What I've done differently is when I'm doing my planks, making sure I'm pulling up. And the other thing that I've changed is because I was getting a bit slack with when I was doing squeezy, but I'd be thinking about something else and not really focused on it. So when I am doing it, I'm making myself really, really focus and pay attention and do it properly rather than half assing it. So yes, that's my message for today. Squeeze up and in rather than pushing down when you're doing any pelvic floor, anything that could involve the pelvic floor. I guess tiny habit that I'd like you to take away from this is because this is a thing for all of us as we age, right? Continence is like all our muscles are decreasing. And so it's important to do what we can to build and maintain the muscle that we do have, particularly in that pelvic floor area. So I just want you to think about what's an activity that you're already doing that you could add in some squeezing. So it might be maybe you are planking already, so you could do that, or another exercise that you have that you could then intentionally add a squeeze, bring that awareness to your pelvic floor. Or I know some people do it. I was talking to someone, she said she does it whenever she stops at traffic lights, then she'll just do some pelvic floor work there. Or I know someone else who does it whenever she has to wait anywhere. She's waiting in a queue, she'll like focus on her pelvic floor then. A couple of different ideas. You don't have to do them all, just choose one. And yeah, because I don't want what happened to me. Well, your cowboy boots definitely don't need pee going in them either. Okay, have a fantastic week and I'll catch you next week.